Salam everybody, this is Lecture 3 of your game programming course. Last week I gave you a homework assignment to create gold coins and allow your character to be able to pick them up throughout all the levels. And then represent that information in a text on the HUD layer. So I'll show you how to do that, and this way this is just one way of doing it. First let me delete this. We want to create the gold coin, so we'll double click, select sprite, and I picked the brush, set its size to 250 and hardness to 100, and I picked yellow. And we want to resize it to 32 by 32. To create multiple instances of this object, which we'll rename to gold, we just select it, hold the control button, and drag. So let's test this out. Actually, what we want to do now is whenever the player collides with an object or a gold coin, we want that gold coin to disappear. So in our event sheet, let's create a comment, right click, add comment, we'll call it pick up. Add an event, player, on collision with another object, which that object will be the gold coin. So when this condition is true, when the player collides with any instance of a gold coin, we want that coin to become destroyed. So let's test it out. Here we go. And as you noticed, the gold coins actually move with the character. So what that represents is this object is not on the correct layer. This object is on the HUD, and when it needs to be on the main layer. And it's moving because of the parallax on the HUD is 0, 0. Say, if you should just reiterate, the HUD parallax is 0, 0, so it moves with the screen. And we need to change all these objects and place them on the main layer. If we rerun the program, whenever you do collide with an object with a gold coin, they do disappear. So that's what we wanted. The next thing we want to do is keep track of how many gold coins we have collected. There are two ways we can keep track of our gold coins. One is to create a global variable, or the second, which I'll show you later, is to create an instance variable associated with our player object, which would be here. So let's do the first one. Global variable, right click, add global variable. We'll call it global coins or gold, I'm not sure. Let's just go with that. Type number, initial value 0. And we'll add another action to this event. So when the player collides with the gold coin, we want that coin to become destroyed, and we want to increment our gold global variable, global coin. That's a horrible name. Let me change that. We'll just call it coin. So the action we'll add is system add to, and we'll add to this variable coin and increment it by 1 value. To display our gold, we need to create a label. So double click text, and let me rearrange that. We'll call this gold label. So now we have a text to, let me change this, gold Now we have the text to display how many gold coins we picked up. So we need to tie that to an action in the event. So that action will be gold label, set text, we'll type in between quotation gold, colon, space, ampersand, and then our global variable, coin. So what happens is we have this string, gold, and then this ampersand, which combines this string with the variable. And we want to also initialize that label, this label, on the beginning of each. Whenever the system starts, it should display the correct value. So we'll add another action here, global label, or gold label, sorry, set text. Actually, I'll show you something different. Let's just select this, control, and drag it up here, and it's the same thing. So let's test it out. Run layout. We have our gold. Gold is set to 0. Gold 1, 3. So we have our gold values. I did notice something here. Whenever we die, it doesn't automatically show us our value. So let me change something there. As you noticed, whenever you fall and die, it takes a while for our gold to pop up. So if we look at the event sheet, whenever we die, the system restarts. And then on the start of the layout, the system goes through this action first, this second, this third, and then this fourth. That's why it took such a long time. So if we move this up to the top, that should solve that problem. So let's rerun it. Let's pick the correct level. Level 1, rerun. And now you noticed gold is 0, 1, 2. If I fall, there's no lag in this section. So that's much better. So that's one way to track how many gold coins you've collected throughout the game using a global variable. But another way, let's delete this, is to use an instance variable that's tied to the player itself. So click on the player. Here we'll create an instance variable, which basically means that variable is only associated with the player. The global variable over here can be accessed anywhere and can be used anywhere, but it's not really tied to anything. And we want this one tied to the player. So we'll click instance variable, the plus sign, type in gold, type number initial value, OK. Close that, and we'll have to also update the sheet. See, our level, our text was automatically deleted, so we'll have to add it again. So I selected a gold label, set text, gold, space, ampersand. Now we're going to access the variable of the player. So we type player, a dot, period, and then gold for the name of the variable. And this green caret figure tells you that it's a variable. So we'll select that and click done. Move that to the top. Also make another copy of it. Hold down Control and bring it down here. And then let's test it out. We should get the same results. So we have gold equal to 0, 1. It did not change, so let's see what we messed up. So you notice that whenever we collected a gold coin, we didn't see anything change in our label. So the reason why is when I deleted the global variable, I also deleted the increment. So I need to add that back again. So add action, system, add to. Actually, it'll have to be, because it's no longer associated with the system, because it's not a global variable, it's a variable tied to the player. So when we add an action, we'll have to select player this time, and add to instance variable gold, and select done. So the sequence, the coin will be destroyed, the label will be updated, and then the variable will be incremented. We want this to be swapped so that the variable is incremented before it's displayed. And let's try running this again. And now we get the same results as before. Next, I'm going to show you guys how to create a moving platform. So on level 1, let's go ahead and delete these 3 solid platforms and create a new one. Double click, select sprite, click anywhere. I'm going to use green, and I'm going to resize it to 64 by 32. Extend it out a little bit. And remember, since this is a new object, let's change the name to mover. And assign behaviors. We need to assign the solid behavior like we did on the black platform. And because this is platform will be moving horizontally and vertically, we need to assign the behavior called sign. So sign, let me open up Paint, is a traditional sign function. It's a repeating pattern, a periodic. So from this point to this point is exactly the same as this point to this point. So it's a repeating function. So as you'll see later, we can change some of the attributes aside along with the sign behavior. So if we click on the mover and we look at a behavior, we see we have the solid behavior and we have the sign behavior. And we have the movement type. Horizontal, we can always change that to vertical. This way, this mover will move from the left and right. And the particular wave is a sine wave. We have many different functions. We can try triangle. Let's just stick with sine for right now. The period will describe how fast the platform will move. So if I make the period smaller, then the platform will move faster. And the magnitude represents the distance. So just let me run it and I'll show you what it looks like right now. I think I need to move it closer. Let's move it closer. Oh, it's also on the HUD. That's the one mistake. And you make sure it's on the main layer. Rerun it. And now we see our moving platform. It's not very fast and it doesn't move very far, but we can change those attributes from here. So if I increase the magnitude to 150 and change the sign to 3, or change the period to 3 and rerun it, we should see something a little different, a little longer and a little faster. And we do. So that is how you create a moving platform. So that platform is horizontally. If I click on the platform, hold down Control, drag out another instance of this mover object, I can change this particular behavior to of this platform to vertically. And now we should have a moving platform going left to right, and we should have a moving platform going top to bottom. And we can check to make sure. Let me create one more and keep this moving horizontally. Run the game. And there you have it. You have 3 or 4 moving platforms. It's kind of crazy, but so that's an easy way to add some dynamics to your game. You can always go in and change the speed. The distance is related to the magnitude, the different waves you can play around with, triangle waves, sawtooth, and see how they affect the movement. We'll just leave that at how it is, and you can implement movers in the rest of your levels, level 2 and level 3. We'll move on to something else. Now I'm going to show you guys how to create some spikes. So when your player, assuming we create some spikes and place them somewhere around here, whenever your player collides with the spikes, he's going to automatically die and restart. So let's double click, select tiled background, and in here we need to create some spikes. So I'll first select line, make it blue, dark blue, and create a triangle. And then I'll select the paint bucket and fill it. And now we need to add some little blood. Not the best, but should be okay. I'll resize it to 32 by 32. And then we have a grid of spikes. So we just need to resize it and place it where we'd like. So if you ever want to zoom in on your level, just hold Control and the mouse wheel, and then you press the middle button again to move your screen. So now we have some spikes. It's not perfect, but it'll do for now. So now we need to add the logic behind the player's interaction with the spikes. So we go to the event sheet, and we'll place this under the death category. We'll add a new blank sub-event. Actually, I need to, yeah. So select player. When player collides with tiled background, we want system restart layout. So let's try this out. Whoops. Yep, and indeed it does work. So now you have something to play around with. These spikes you can place anywhere on your levels to make it more interesting. One thing we noticed is we have a repeating call, an action call. So system restart layout, system restart layout. So we've seen that it occurs twice. So let's try to reduce that by introducing a new concept called functions. The purpose of a function is to reduce repeated repetition in your event sheet. Although our event sheet is not very populated, as it becomes more in depth, functions will become more useful. And it'll be easier for you to read exactly what's going on in your event sheet. So to introduce functions, go to either level, and we need to add the function object. So double click, click function, and now in the event sheet we can access that function object. We'll add an event, function, on function call, and we'll name this function death. So when the player dies, we want the system to restart. So select system restart, hold down Control, drag it down, and then we have whenever the function on death is called, the system will restart. So now we can delete these two and replace it with a function call. So call function death. Select control, drag. So let's move this first up here. So whenever the player collides with a spike, which we still have named as tiled background, so let's change that real quick. Change that to spikes. Whenever the player collides with spikes, with any of the spikes, the function will call death. And the function on death will restart the layout. So let's test it. So whenever we hit the spikes, it restarted, and whenever it fall, it restarted. So that's one way to reduce your code and make it more concise. So we automatically know what's going to happen when this occurs. It's going to call this function. Then we can go to that function and figure out what are the details involved in that function. When you want to create multiple functions, you don't have to create another function object. You use the same object, but rename the function call. So if I add an event, function, on function, we'll call this start. On start. And we'll replace everything here with the function call. So I'll select this, control move it, and delete everything in here, and replace it with the function call. Call function on start. So use the same object, but create new names for each function. So if we run it, the system should, whenever he falls and dies, it should restart, and it does. So it just simplifies the readings. The system on start of layout, call function on start, and then it explains what exactly is going to happen whenever you call that function. Your homework assignment for this week is to use the objects that we've created so far, the gold, movers, and spikes, and populate your levels with them. And also, I'd like you guys to create a tiled, what do we call it, the end area here on your last level. Create an end area, and whenever your player reaches the end area of the last level, I want you to display in a label, "You win the game." And then I want you to also, in your event sheet, ignore all inputs from the player. So as the player comes down to the last level, he can no longer move, and all you see on the screen is "You win." And that is your homework assignment, and I'll show you how to do that in the next lecture. And also next lecture, we will work with creating enemies, movable enemies, and how to destroy enemies. And until next time, good luck.